And going through the Bible, book by book and chapter by chapter, we're in Exodus 17. Now, last time we looked at Exodus chapter 16, where the people complained about not having food. Well, they get up and they move to a new place in the wilderness, and now they're going to complain about not having water. See, there's always something new to complain about. So they complain to Moses about not having water, saying, "You've brought us out here to the wilderness so that we can die from lack of water." And when you read through this, it says to Moses, "Give us water to drink." Moses asks again, "Why are you complaining to me? Why are you testing the Lord?" They hadn't realized yet that Moses isn't the one in charge. And all throughout history, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to refer to the law of Moses because he became kind of a figurehead. And it's not wrong to refer to the Old Testament law. It's the law of Moses. But Moses wasn't the leader. God was the leader. God was using Moses to lead his people. And so a complaint against what Moses was doing was ultimately a complaint against what God was doing. And so when these people come and complain to Moses, they're really grumbling against the Lord. Now, we're told in the New Testament to avoid grumbling and complaining. This isn't just a verse for the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old when they complain about things, and we use that as a weapon. No grumbling and complaining. Well, really, it's the adults who need to hear that also. The adults need to make sure that they aren't grumbling and complaining against the Lord, which is a very, very, very serious offense. Well, what does God do? Does he cut them off? Does he kill them all? Does he find some other people and start over? No. He gives them what they need. Because at this point, in their faith and their walk with God, they need to learn that God will give them what they need. If they will just trust him and listen to him, he's going to do everything that he said he's going to do. And because God does that, because he's patient with them, and he's kind to them, we can trust that God is going to do the same thing for us. When we're in our walk with the Lord and we need reassurance, God gives us that reassurance in the Scriptures. We can look and we can see how God treated these people when they grumbled or complained, how he forgave them and was kind to them. So I can know that if I happen to do that, God will be kind to me and forgive me. And ultimately, I can come to trust all the promises that he's given to me. He's promised me more than land. He's promised me more than food and water. He's promised me an eternal home in heaven with him. Because God was able to call down bread from heaven, because God, in this particular passage, is able to gush forth water from a rock when Moses will go with his stick, the same stick he held up and parted the Red Sea, the same stick that he used to turn the water in the Nile to blood, this staff, this stick, he goes and he strikes a rock with it, and water gushes out for all the people. The God who did that, the God who gave them water, the God who delivered, is the same God who will deliver salvation, is the same God on the last day who will save me from sin, who will raise me up and give me an eternal life with him forever in heaven. In the second half of this chapter, there's a battle between the children of Israel and Amalek. There's an interesting thing here where Moses has to hold his hands up. And as long as he holds his hands up over his head, the children of Israel are winning the battle. When he gets tired or when his hands fall down, they begin to lose. So some people go up and they help Moses hold his hands up all day long. It's a pretty hard task, to hold your hands up for that long. It's easy to let them droop. Well, what we can see here is that this battle was totally in God's control. If the key factor was Moses holding his hands up in the air, who was really in charge of the battle? Well, God was. Well, why did God do that? Well, it's to teach us something. God has told us that he will save us. God has told us that if we have faith in his Son, if we're obedient to the gospel of Jesus Christ, if we believe and we've been baptized, then we will be saved. That's Mark 16:16. If we do all these things, if we're faithful to the Lord, the Lord will save us. Well, the Lord promised them that he would deliver them from their enemies. But Moses still had to hold his hands up in the air, didn't he? If Moses said, well, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I'm tired. It's hard work. I'm just going to put my arms down. Israel would have lost. If we do what God says, God will deliver. God is not the one who's weak. God's not the one who can't do things. We have choices to make also. We have effort to put forward. That's how we show that we have faith. That's how we prove that we have faith, is when we do what God says. And that's what we can see here in this chapter. Moses is doing what God says, and God saves his people. As we're going through the Bible book by book and chapter by chapter, that's Exodus chapter 17.